a new indifference curve that's closer to the origin. So they'll go tell its tangent to the new budget constraint, maybe somewhere around here, as I've drawn it, right? And as I've drawn it, their optimal level of coffee consumption didn't change, right? And it's easy to draw pictures where it doesn't change. You don't have to draw indifference curves that are super flat or super steep, or this one was easy to draw. Yeah. And the reason it's really common for there to be only a small change in coffee demand after there's an increase in the price of donuts is that the income and substitution effects for coffee after an increase in the price of donuts move in opposite directions, right? So let's think about the substitution effect first. The price of donuts go up. Will that cause you to, from a substitution perspective, do you consume more coffee or less coffee? More, right? You say coffee became relatively cheap, donuts became relatively expensive. I'll shift my consumption away from donuts and into coffee. I'll substitute based on the change in the relative prices. Yeah. Okay. On the other hand, the price of donuts went up, right? Your real income fell.
You consume less coffee.
If coffee's a normal good, which most goods are, you consume less of it, right? So the substitution effect will push you towards more coffee consumption, right? But the income effect will push you towards less coffee consumption. So you have these, countervailing income and substitution effects for the other good. Yeah. And so the overall effect is ambiguous. And that'll be like a tiny head start on your problem set. Let's say that, let's say I've drawn it just very slightly differently. And something like that, right? Such that after the increase in the price of donuts, the new optimal bundle of coffee is, the new optimal bundle has more coffee. Yeah. And then I ask you something like, what was bigger, the substitution effect or the income effect for coffee? The substitution effect, right? Maybe the substitution effect pushed it all the way up to here, and then the income effect pushed it back down to here, but the net effect was positive. Yes, which means the substitution effect must have been bigger than the income effect. Yeah. And conversely, if I could draw this pretty easily such that it fell, then it would be like, oh, the income effect dominated. Yeah. Okay. I think we're out of time. Any big picture questions or anything on this? A very interesting case, which I will not do, but that maybe is in your textbook and is fun to do, is to think about a good that has a huge income effect, right? So maybe it's a good that comprises a very large share of individuals' income. Like 50 years ago, most people living in like the Chinese countryside spent 70 or 80% of their real income on rice. Right? It was like the staple good that comprised the vast majority of expenditures for a low-income household in the Chinese countryside. Yeah. On the other hand, it might be an inferior good. They might have preferred, the average Chinese consumer might have preferred, meat or something over rice, or maybe like a fancier kind of rice or something. Right? If you have that unique combination, you can end up with upward sloping demand curves. Right? Because it's like, hey, the price of rice went up. Right? That reduced my real income by a ton. Right? So I became much poorer. When I become poorer, right, I have to consume more of inferior goods. Rice is an inferior good, so I'll consume more of it. Right? It's like, oh, I'm so poor now with the high price of rice that I have to eat more rice. Right? And it's like, then you have a case where like the price of rice went up and people demand more rice. That's an upward sloping demand curve. It's crazy. Like the one explanation, but the other explanation for this kind of thing we talked about last time was like, art or something, right? Where it's like, oh, price can be a signal of quality for a good where quality is not well defined, right? And that is one reason you might see an upward sloping demand curve in some special cases. But in other special cases, an inferior good with a large income effect. It's often called a Giffen good. Okay? Okay, good stuff.